Let's jump right into today's explainer. We are unpacking a fascinating framework on what it actually takes to achieve true sustainable success. We're looking at concepts laid out in the August 1991 edition of the Happy Science Monthly magazine, specifically Chapter 3, which focuses on the law of rising in the world. It's kind of crazy how a piece from 1991 essentially predicted all our modern debates on toxic ambition, workplace harmony, and real leadership. So let's dive into this structured approach to not just hitting the top, but actually staying there.
Let's start off by challenging a pretty common preconception. Is the drive for career success inherently just a selfish pursuit? I mean, you know how it is. In modern times, the whole idea of rising in the world can carry a bit of a negative vibe. It sounds like it's purely about ego, right? Like stepping on others just to climb the corporate ladder. But the material we're exploring today presents a totally different, deeply ethical perspective on this ambition.
Here is our roadmap for today. 1. The true meaning of success. 2. Foundation, independence. 3. Cultivating ability. 4. The pivot, tolerance. And 5. The peak, gratitude and humility.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, the true meaning of success and redefining Rishin Shusei.
The text hits this ambition head-on in Chapter 3, focusing on a historical Japanese phrase, Rishin Shusei. This roughly translates to establishing yourself and rising in the world, and the author makes a really compelling argument here. This desire isn't some selfish flaw or an outdated relic. It's actually a fundamental human drive. The real secret? It all comes down to how we define that growth.
To explain this, the author gives us this incredibly vivid botanical metaphor. True success isn't about grabbing space like a weed, crawling selfishly along the ground and literally choking out the competition. Not at all. It's defined as growing straight and tall, like a rice stalk. And why a rice stalk? Because the ultimate goal is to bear useful fruit and provide nourishment to others. So, that ambition you have, it's perfectly valid, as long as your end goal is to become something of immense value to society.
Moving on to Section 2, Foundation, independence, the base of the pyramid.
According to the text, true independence has to start practically. First up, economic self-reliance. Basically, you need to earn enough so you aren't a financial burden. Second is useful societal contribution, meaning you're doing a job that the world actually recognizes as valuable. And third, and this is absolutely crucial, organizational harmony. You really can't just be this brilliant lone wolf who constantly disrupts the office. We all know that one incredibly talented coworker who's just an absolute nightmare to work with, right? You have to foster a unified environment. If you're not making the workplace better for the people around you, you simply haven't built the foundation for true success.
Next up is Section 3, Cultivating Ability, the synthesis of study and experience. Now, to actually cultivate that high-level ability, the author emphasizes a really fascinating duality. A successful person has to synthesize structured academic study, that intellectual knowledge, with the raw, messy, sensory input of real-world experience. You literally can't just read about business in a textbook. You have to feel it in your bones. You need that tactile wisdom that only comes from rolling up your sleeves, doing the work, failing, feeling the sting of that failure, and having the guts to try again.
But here's the catch. Just having those experiences isn't enough. According to the text, the real secret to extracting true wisdom is the humble act of active listening. It's about meticulously analyzing exactly why you succeeded, or why you failed. It's picking up those life lessons one by one and deeply integrating them. That active, humble synthesis is what actually transforms raw, everyday experience into profound capability.
Which brings us to Section 4, the pivot, tolerance, the trial of leadership. The text notes something super interesting here. Outstanding individuals often crash and burn right in the middle of their careers because they lack one crucial thing: tolerance. When you're highly skilled, it is so easy to become overly critical of everyone else's flaws. But the text beautifully compares true tolerance to a vast ocean that accepts all rivers, or a massive tree providing restful shade for people taking shelter from the rain. To be a real leader, you have to develop a wide, accepting container for people. You've got to provide a space where others feel safe, accepted, and nurtured, flaws and all. Finally, we reach Section 5, the peak, gratitude and humility, sustaining success in the long run. To reach this absolute peak, the author completely dismantles the myth of this self-made success. The text reminds us that every single achievement you have is supported by a massive, often invisible network of external help. Think about it for a second. Divine timing, an educational environment you didn't build, tireless support from your parents and friends, and the crucial guidance from both your bosses and the subordinates who actually execute your vision. Absolutely no one climbs the mountain entirely alone.
And realizing that fact has to give birth to profound gratitude, or, as defined in the source, recognizing deeply that your talents aren't just the result of your own independent power. Highly capable people fall into this trap all the time, thinking their success is just a simple math equation of purely their own sweat and tears. Gratitude is the absolute vital safeguard against that blinding arrogance.
Coupled directly with gratitude is humility. The text describes this as feeling a sense of almost unworthiness or self-reproach. It's this profound realization of your own inadequacies, even when you're outwardly incredibly successful. When you really take a step back and consider how much you've received from the world, from your mentors, and from your team, true humility is looking at your actual accomplishments and feeling like you still haven't done quite enough to repay that massive debt.
The text concludes that keeping these three hearts alive, tolerance, gratitude, and humility, is the timeless, universal condition for true leaders in literally any era. And this isn't just a nice-sounding platitude. It's positioned as an absolute, unbreakable law. If you polish your talents and rise to the very top, but you lose these three hearts along the way, your eventual downfall is pretty much guaranteed for sure.
So, as you reflect on your own workplace relationships and your pursuit of success, I want you to ask yourself a question. If you continue on your current path, relying purely on your skills without tolerance, gratitude, and humility, what kind of landscape are you ultimately building? Will your final destination be a thriving oasis where people naturally want to gather, or a barren, isolated desert? The law of Rishin Shunsei teaches us that true success is never, ever a solo endeavor. To explore exactly how to cultivate these three hearts in your own life and sustain your ascent, I highly encourage you to dive into the original text. Thanks for exploring this explainer with me today.